Hello, everyone, and welcome to the February edition of the U.S. Africa Business Roundup. It has been a very active month at the Corporate Council on Africa, with important discussions on Africa's economic outlook, deeper engagement with partners across the continent, and continued momentum around U.S. Africa trade and investment. Let me share a few highlights. As we do each year, we convened a discussion on Africa's economic outlook, featuring Dr. Andrew Dabalen, Chief Economist for Africa at the World Bank. Despite global uncertainty, he noted that sub-Saharan Africa continues to show resilience. Growth is projected at about 4.4% in both 2026 and 2027. Supported by easing inflation, recovering consumption, and a gradual rebound in investment. Several economies, including Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Côte d'Ivoire, are performing stronger than expected. At the same time, the conversation made clear that faster growth on the continent will be essential. Africa's working-age population will increase by more than 600 million people by 2050. To generate enough quality jobs, growth will need to accelerate closer to 6 to 7% annually. That will require continued investment in infrastructure, improvements in the business environment, stronger institutions, and education systems aligned with market needs. Another important discussion this month focused on health security and regulatory harmonization. CCA hosted the inaugural session of our National Regulatory Authority Briefing Series, a part of U.S. Africa Health Security and Resilience Initiative here at CCA. We were honored to welcome Dr. Delise Mimi Darko of the African Medicines Agency, AMA, who shared updates on the agency's operationalization and long-term strategy. A key takeaway was the importance of alignment between regulators and the private sector. Strong regulatory systems can accelerate market access, support innovation, and strengthen Africa's growing healthcare sector. Following the administration's launch of the FORGE initiative to strengthen critical mineral supply chains for U.S. manufacturing and defense industries, CCA participated in the Africa Mining Indaba in Cape Town, South Africa. I was pleased to join a panel on how Africa can future-proof its strategic corridors amid shifting geopolitics. The discussion highlighted the importance of connecting upstream mining development, particularly in critical minerals, with the infrastructure needed to bring those resources to global markets, including coordinated investments in roads, rail, and ports. During the panel, I also announced that CCA is launching a Strategic Corridors initiative and beginning discussions with African Union leaders on advancing this work. This month, we also co-hosted a high-level U.S.-Kenya Trade and Investment Roundtable in Nairobi, Kenya, with the Trade and Development Bank, KEPSA, and Invest Kenya. The meeting brought together senior public and private sector leaders to explore ways to deepen commercial ties and expand investment. Kenya continues to stand out as one of Africa's most dynamic markets and an important gateway to the continent. U.S.-Kenya trade reached approximately $3.3 billion in 2024, the latest data that we have, and participants discussed opportunities in digital trade, agriculture, infrastructure, and capital markets. There was also strong support for enhancing AGOA beyond the current extension and advancing a longer-term trade agreement with Kenya and other African countries. The overall message was clear. There is strong optimism that 2026 can mark meaningful progress in the U.S.-Kenya and broader U.S. Africa economic partnership. While in Kenya, I also had the opportunity to visit a factory that demonstrates how AGOA works in practice. Just outside Nairobi, I toured the JPGK apparel factory located in a special economic zone. The company produces apparel for U.S. buyers using cotton sourced from American farmers, yarn and fabric from neighboring East African countries, and manufacturing in Kenya. It is a powerful example of how trade initiatives like AGOA support investment and job creation on both sides of the Atlantic while strengthening regional integration. Earlier this month, I attended the 39th African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. This was an excellent opportunity to meet with senior government leaders and discuss opportunities for deeper engagement with CCA members. I had productive conversations with leaders from Mauritius, Tanzania, and Namibia, and we look forward to building on those discussions in the months ahead, including at the U.S. Africa Business Summit that CCA will co-host with the government of Mauritius in July of this year. On the sidelines of the AU Summit, CCA partnered with the U.S. Department of State to host a high-level discussion on advancing strategic corridors across Africa. Government leaders and African Union leaders, development finance institutions, and private sector partners discuss how these corridors can accelerate trade, industrialization, and regional integration under the African Continental Free Trade Area. A key takeaway was that strategic corridors in Africa must function as integrated economic ecosystems linking transport, energy, digital infrastructure, agriculture, and industry. I am also pleased to share that the board of the Export-Import Bank of the United States has appointed me to serve as chair of the Sub-Saharan Africa Advisory Committee for the 2026 to 2027 term. I look forward to supporting efforts that expand U.S. trade and investment across Africa, and this is a real honor for me. Finally, we are excited to welcome a new member to the CCA team. Jude Muta has joined us as Director of Member Relations. Jude brings extensive experience in U.S. Africa affairs, international development, and stakeholder engagement. He will play an important role in strengthening connections with our members and partners across the United States and Africa. We are very pleased to have him on the team. Thank you so much for staying engaged with the Corporate Council on Africa. We at CCA look forward to continuing these important conversations and to seeing many of you at upcoming CCA events, including the 2026 U.S. Africa Business Summit in Mauritius. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again next month.